Hello all, Emmeric's back. It's been a while. The weather's been pretty cold. I've been on holiday, but there's been a couple of jobs I need to do. You can see over there the roads are still cold. It's bitterly chilly here in the UK. Anyway, let's get back onto these jobs. Well, I've got a seal for the MAF airflow sensor and some new air filters that I've got to do. But while I was about it, I thought I'd create a video on a situation with an oil leak. Now, I think many people think they might have a oil cooler leak, which is understandable because there's not too many places where the oil can leak directly from the bottom of the engine, apart from the sun nut. And if it's not from there, it's probably going to be, well, most people think, from the oil cooler. And that a job to fit new seals to the oil cooler is huge. It can take 8 to 9 hours. You take all the sort of engine, because on this engine it's a V6, and it, you know, oil will accumulate around the oil cooler, and then to get to that oil cooler, if you want to replace the you know, the seals, is a massive job, and it can cost £1,000 or £2,000. Ridiculous. But I believe a lot of the cases it's not coming from the oil cooler at all. It's probably coming from the MAF airflow sensor, where the oil gets pulled in from the crankcase breather and back down through the turbo. And there's a seal there, which we're about to look at, that tends to get a bit worn, tends to leak, and then all that oil that gets pulled through in the oil from the oil breather, that sort of like mixes with the gases, tends to leak out. And it's actually that's actually leaking down through the engine. And in many cases, people think it's the oil cooler that's leaking, which is a far worse job. But I actually took my car for an MOT a couple of years back, and they said it was probably the oil cooler leaking, but there's no leak now. You know, it sort of comes and goes, so it doesn't suggest to me that it is that oil cooler at all. What I'm going to do now is take the MAF airflow sensor off and show you what sort of oil leaks from the seal. I've got a new seal. Let's get down to that job, and I'll explain while we go along. So it might not actually be the oil cooler at all. I reckon if you've got a leak, check the seal, what I'm about to check first, and if that all looks good, then maybe you have got an oil cooler leak. But you might find also it's very, very, very common on these cars to have the leak from the MAF airflow system. Anyway, let's get on with that right this moment. Stay tuned. Right, the part we need to take off is this MAF airflow sensor, and you can see over the back here, that's the actual seal that goes to the turbo. Over here is the breather, which comes from the engine, and all the gases and oil that gets caught in that gases gets drawn into this and then through the turbo, but it all accumulates here, and if the seal's not very good, and it will start leaking down through the engine, and that's what I'm about to take off in a moment. All I've got to do is remove a few of these sensors and unclip from these air filters. All we need for this job is for this whole job is simply a screwdriver, because basically all you got to do is just unclip it from the air filters each side. No tools required. Also over the other side, do the same. Let's take that off. These clips here, let's get you a closer shot. You've basically got to pull this clip out with this. There you go. Just pull it out a little bit and then press down and then pull. Simple. Over this side is a little bit different because the actual clip's underneath, but it's the same principle. Pull that out, pull up and pull. Pull. You've also got one on the other side with where the breather connects. We can do the same there. Clip that up, press it in, pull that up, no problem, easy. Right, so we've done that. All we've got to do now, we've got this Jubilee clip, a big Jubilee clip. Just unscrew that. It shouldn't be done up too tight. let's make sure that's loose enough. There you go. And that's about it really. Right, that should come undone. We should be able to pull that out. One moment. Right, all we should be able to do now is this like compresses, so you can pull it away from the air filter. Be careful of the seal. You don't want to split the seal. There you go. Pull that back as far as it goes, then up, out the way. And you do the same for the other side. Careful of the seal, bring it up. And all we have to do now is literally just pull off the turbo and then up at an angle, like this. Right, one thing we got to take off, I'll show you, is the tube that goes into the, from the actual crankcase breather, but we should be able to just literally pull, wiggle that and pull that out. It's a bit difficult with the camera I'm holding, but there you go. And there you have it. And this is what I'm talking. This is what I'm talking about, the amount of oil that goes down through that turbo that gets pulled through. Check that out. Look at that. Dripping. Right, let's put that down there and I'll show you what's going on over here. Right. Check this out. Can you see the oil? Look at the oil that's been dripping down. And over weeks, months of that happening, that's constantly going to be drawing oil through from the crankcase breather. And you know, it's got to go somewhere, and that's going down in the engine, and that is going to be leaking out the bottom of the engine. So that's why your oil, you might not have what is believed to be an oil cooler leak. So that's the very first thing to check to see if your seal's leaking. What tends to happen is the seal is, that's got a little bit of busted part of the seal there, and on the other end there's like a little nodule on there that holds it in as well, but it tends to get malformed and it loses its seal and starts leaking oil. So that's the very first thing to check. Anyway, that's just a little tip first before you start going into a job that could cost thousands.